I'm Molly and this is my YouTube tutorial. To begin with, I'm going to be talking about psychoanalysis. Okay, so first off we need to understand what psychoanalysis is. Sigmund Freud, who we know as the theorist behind voyeurism, was also the person who came up with psychoanalysis. He claimed that it's all about our unconscious mind. Freud believed that our true selves, the person we really are, is hidden under the surface in our unconscious. So it's like to someone, I may show them all my good qualities, leading to believe that I'm a really nice person, but what they don't know is I could be a psycho serial killer. Freud argued that what we want and desire is hidden from the world. It's something that we don't show people, meaning that we all have hidden agendas in life. It's when these arise and people discover your agendas that then showing your true colours comes to light. The easiest way to think of this is if everyone's covered in body paint with labels of all their good qualities and anything else they want you to know about them. Or, as this picture shows, we're all icebergs. Only a small amount of us is above the sea and the majority is left hidden. Freud claimed there to be two drives. The life drive, which is about life and building and sustaining drives, also referred to as the Eros. Eros was the son of Aphrodite, who we know was a goddess of beauty, fertility, and sexual love. And then there is the death drive, a primitive impulse for destruction, so completely the opposite of the life drive. And this one is about wanting to destroy the good things in life. Films are an escape from reality for most of us. You get sucked into them, and when they're finished, you feel slightly sad because it means you have to go back to your life. You can't pretend that you're in the film anymore. That's where transference/projection comes into place. We put our thoughts into a film. We project these thoughts into characters or scenarios. Characters in the film live the life we dreamed of. Everything has a meaning in a film, whether you pick up on it straight away or not. Nothing in a film is accidental. Every film is bound to have latent messages, those that are hidden. Longing for completeness is what we all seek, and films can offer this. Jackie Lacan believes that we are obsessed with the illusion of being complete. We're hooked on the film characters living out our dreams. It's only an illusion because it's happening in the film and not our actual lives. Jackie Lacan argues that film allows us to come to a conclusion and work out our issues. Jacqueline Rose believed we often seek our missing object of desire through film. Freud proposed there are three parts to psychoanalysis. The ID, completely unconscious and seeks immediate fulfillment. The ego is the middleman, if you like. It keeps the ID and the superego at bay, so it keeps our desires realistic. And finally, the superego. It's the moralizing, punishing one of the three psyches. It has a strong sense of right and wrong. Now we move on to this theory in films, and I'm going to talk about Black Swan. So in this, Natalie Portman, a very talented actress, plays the role of an up-and-coming ballerina striving to be the best, but it's that drive that is her downfall. It's never said in the film that Nina is suffering from schizophrenia. We as an audience come to that conclusion because that's what the clues in the film lead us to. Clues being her mysterious injuries that we see and then watch them vanish in a matter of seconds, suggesting that it was all in her head. Also, when she imagines her mum's paintings coming to life, all suggests that something isn't right with her. There are so many clever camera angles. Darren Aronofsky uses a lot of over-the-shoulder shots and fast movements. It straight away gives the impression that the main character is paranoid. It's almost as if it's the audience she senses watching her, because that's what the feel of it creates, how she looks into the camera almost, and it feels like she's looking at you. Natalie Portman in the beginning is seen as obeying her mother's every demand. She's being belittled and her mother is keeping her as a child. It's also suggested by her room. The main character's room is something you'd envision for a little girl. It's all pink and there's teddy bears on the bed, which suggests that's why Nina wants to be the best, so she can escape her controlling mum. It's like her mum is trying to stop Nina from growing up and leaving her. She's worried about being on her own. Another location is an alleyway. This is where Natalie Portman sees herself, which is pretty scary on its own, but filming in an alleyway at night, and you've quadrupled the audience's suspense, because alleyways are normally associated with being a scary place. It's obvious that a lot of time went into designing the costumes. I think they play a crucial role in this film. They help demonstrate Nina's internal struggle against herself. The Black Swan costume representing the bad and the evil inside her, fighting with the white, which is the good in her. Now we move on to Mila Kunis and her tattoos. In the film, this defines the difference between her character and Natalie Portman's. Tattoos are normally associated with being rebellious and not obeying anyone. It's a clear binary opposite between her and Natalie Portman. As previously mentioned, Natalie's character does whatever her mother says. Mila's tattoo is of two lilies, and the connotations of lilies is death. It's also Mila's character's name in the film, suggesting that she'll be the one to bring death to the story. Lighting tends to be quite dark throughout, although in the ballet studio it's quite bright. This could be shown that's where Nina is most happy and feels safe. From psychoanalysis to feminism. This is a collection of ideas and movements and defending the equality for women. Suffragettes were a big deal, but they were the first to defend feminism, really. The 1960s and 70s was where things really got going for women's rights and women themselves. Feminist film theory analyzes how producers and directors use the structure and stereotypes of women in films. Laura Mulvey wrote about the male gaze. This is a very interesting theory. It's all about how films and anything are for the purpose of men, so a woman's actions isn't for herself, it's for the men's gaining of it. However, Laura Mulvey's theory is now almost not relevant as times are changing and more females are becoming strong characters. Mulvey says women are simultaneously looked at and displayed. According to her, there are only three ways to watch a film: through the eyes of a male character, through the eyes of a male audience, or a combination of one and two. A heterosexual female spectator can take two possible roles when watching a film: a masochistic identification with the female object of desire that is ultimately self-defeating, or a transsexual identification with men as the active viewers of the text. Female spectators are encouraged to identify with the male observer. B. Ruby Rich argues women filter images and messages they receive through cinema. The Bechdel test is rather interesting. It asks if there's two or more women in a film, do they have names, and do they talk about something other than men? A lot of films fall into this test. Christian Metz believes that viewing a film is for pleasure. The film I'm going to talk about for this theory is I Spit on Your Grave, the remake version. The film opens with a woman driving her car. She has sunglasses on her head, but where she is isn't that sunny, it looks quite grey, suggesting that she's travelling from somewhere else. She comes into what appears to be a low populated area. There isn't anyone about, really. The first male to be introduced has a different accent to her, confirming she is in a different location. We learn she's a novelist looking for some peace when she's talking to the man. When she stops for petrol, or gas as they call it in America, we're introduced to two more males. Jennifer seems uncomfortable but nods out of politeness when they smile at her. Johnny is introduced by scaring Jennifer, but not purposely. He tries chatting her up, but Jennifer shakes him off. She then interferes when he's trying to help her, and he slips and spills a bucket of water over himself. You can tell Johnny is one of those men that cares about his masculinity. Jennifer has embarrassed him in front of Johnny's friends. She's dented his pride. He is clearly not happy about that. The drive continues home whilst creepy feeling music is playing in the background, making it non-diegetic, meaning it's edited in after, so Jennifer can't hear it. It's not in the character spot. We then see a lake, and then we see the cabin. 6 minutes into the film, we now know who Jennifer is and why she's going where she is. Establishing shots are used to show us the cabin. We see Jennifer pull out 2 bottles of wine. Cutaways are used to show us more of Jennifer's locations. We then see her typing on her laptop and a bottle of wine on the table next to her laptop. She's then outside sunbathing with a glass of wine, and we see her shut her laptop, signifying she wants to enjoy her break as well as finishing her writing. She had a white wine. However, later on, when she sat on the porch part of the cabin, she has a glass of red wine, suggesting she's gone through 2 bottles. Whilst on the phone, she hears a thud and looks in the direction it came from. She hears it again and goes to check it out. She walks across far to where she finds a shed-type place with all sorts of tools and poison. She shuts it up and goes back to her chair. She spills her wine down her, so she has to go inside and clean herself up. We then discover that someone's watching her through a camera while she's washing her sink. We know it's through a camera because the effect changes and it's like camera recording. She's unaware that she's being watched. This is dramatic irony. We as an audience know more than she does. The next day, and she's gone for a little run. Camera shots make it feel as though she's being watched. They come from all over the place. You have from the front, from sides, from behind her. She stops and sees an abandoned house, so she goes in to have a look. She sees tools and empty bottles and rusty cans, suggesting the house has been empty for quite a while. She then leaves and carries on back home, only to discover that her sink is leaking out dirty water, so she has to call a plumber. She speaks to him whilst over the toilet, meaning there is a problem with the plumbing. It's not just the sink. She then drops her phone down the toilet, so she's feeling like, could her luck get any worse? We see her drying out her phone, so that will be out of use for a while. And considering she was talking on a mobile phone, it means there isn't a landline phone because, well, she's in the middle of nowhere, so she isn't really going to have signal for that. The plumber is a new face we haven't seen. He's rather shy, and you can tell he has learning difficulties by the way he acts and speaks. Next shot is the guys we met at the gas station filming them beating a fish with a baseball bat. Now that shot opened with the fish being filmed. It was the same aesthetics as when Jennifer was being filmed. I mean, it's more than likely these guys that were filming her the other night. The plumber then comes to sit with these guys, and then we learn that it was one of the guys that filmed Jennifer. You can tell Matthew, the plumber, isn't treated very nicely by the others, as they refer to him as a retard. Johnny is rather rude about Jennifer and wants to prove that he can get with her because he believes all city girls are teasers towards men. He makes it sound like they should be punished. It then goes back to Jennifer after Johnny says to Matthew not to worry because he'll show him the way, referring of how to get Jennifer. It shows her seeing if her phone works, but it doesn't. This will have some relevance later on. We then see her smoking. The next shot is her waking up from sleep because she hears something. She goes to check it out, goes out of the house and walks to look for what was going on, and then she comes back into the house. And then she sees on her laptop there's a selfie that's been taken of the guys from the gas station. They've broken into her house and taken a picture. And then when she sees it, they all come out and she's fully frightened because she knows that she doesn't have a phone, so she has no way of calling for help. I've only gone up to this part because this is all that build-up towards it, and there's so many clues in that first part. Obviously, the phone getting dropped down the toilet, connecting the plumber and the guys from the gas station so they know exactly where she is, although she did mention to them in the gas station because she wanted directions from them. So this film is of a thriller horror genre. Despite misconceptions, these are two very different film genres. Thrillers are less gore and more building suspense. Violence tends to be the main focal point in thrillers, in which case this film hits that convention spot on. The hero and the villain, despite being on opposite teams, may share characteristics, which in this case I believe to be true. Johnny Miller, the leader, so to speak, of the gang of men, has it in him to torture Jennifer. Because Jennifer doesn't have anyone to come to her rescue and she has to go it alone, she becomes her own hero, and she has it in her to seek her revenge and torture the gang of men one by one, therefore sharing that similar characteristic with Johnny. Thrillers like to centre on injustice in society, but they like to solve these wrongs. So in this film, it would be the fact that the officer that she finds, the police officer she runs into in the forest, was actually working with the guys, and he joins in torturing her. The heroes in thrillers are often outsiders, isolated and secretive. We don't actually know that much about Jennifer. We obviously find out that she was a novelist and she gets away for some peace and quiet, but I don't think any of the audience viewers suspected her to turn into this revenge-seeking psycho. So that's the conventions of a thriller. Now for the conventions of a horror, and then we can see how they differ. Horrors are set in small communities, isolated places. This is normally so that we know our characters don't really have a chance of escape, and it's meant to create that feel of isolation. Like I Spit on Your Grave, a cabin is a popular choice for a setting of a horror genre. The purpose of horror films is to play with people's fear. They almost always involve fake blood. Non-naturalistic lighting is used, and weapons are used as a props quite a lot. You've got your horrible like chainsaws and the big cutting scissors, probably maybe a lawnmower or something that like shreds stuff. Anything that'll create a mess or spray of blood, that's normally going to be in a horror. The hero protagonist is on a mission to kill or solve a problem, which in this case it's both. The typical characters are protagonist, either a hero or villain. In this case, Jennifer would be seen as the hero. Then you have the villain, which could be a monster, a serial killer, that's not a very nice person. Yeah, we have multiple villains in this film. There will also be a police officer. Whether that be a good cop or bad cop is a different story, and I don't know about many horror films, but in this one, it's a bad cop. He's not a nice person. Typical themes within a horror film will be good versus evil, religion, supernatural, nightmare, insanity, revenge, darkness, envy, murder, mass murder. Horrors don't have to cover all of the themes if they didn't want to. They can cover some of them, like with I Spit on Your Grave, that covers some of those, but not all of them. And that's how horrors and thrillers differ. Obviously, I Spit on Your Grave is a thriller horror, so it takes conventions from both. Not all feminist films are this brutal. I mean, there's Mulan. She pretends to be a guy in order to fight and prove that females can do a man's job, and that's a Disney cartoon film. This has been my YouTube tutorial